Have you ever walked into a room and suddenly forgotten why you went there? It feels harmless, maybe even normal. But what if I told you that one of the most common breakfast habits, something millions of people over 50 eat every single morning, is quietly accelerating that exact kind of memory loss? Not in years, not in decades, but starting today. Doctors are now warning that certain everyday foods, especially those eaten first thing in the morning, can trigger inflammation in the brain, disrupt memory pathways, and increase your risk of cognitive decline by as much as 40%. And the worst part? Most people think they're eating something healthy. I've spent years studying how diet impacts brain aging, and I can tell you this: what you eat in the first hour after waking up sets the tone for your brain's performance for the entire day. Your memory, your clarity, even your mood, they all hinge on this one decision. Today, I'm going to walk you through 6 of the most dangerous breakfast choices that could be silently damaging your brain. And we're counting down to the number 1 item, the one neurologists are most concerned about right now. But here's the twist. The first one on this list is something you might have eaten this morning. Before we dive in, I want to know who I'm talking to. How old are you right now? Drop your age in the comments below. I read these, and it helps me tailor this information to you. And if you're over 50, this video could be one of the most important you watch this year. Let's begin. Number 6. It looks innocent. It's quick. It's convenient. And it's probably sitting in your kitchen right now. Flavored yogurt. Yes, those small, fruit-on-the-bottom cups that promise low fat, high calcium, and gut health. But here's what most people don't realize. Many flavored yogurts contain up to 20 grams of added sugar in a single serving. That's nearly the same as a candy bar. And when that sugar hits your system first thing in the morning, it doesn't just affect your blood sugar, it hits your brain. Studies published in neuroscience journals have shown that high sugar intake can reduce the production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, a protein essential for memory formation and learning. Low BDNF levels have been directly linked to Alzheimer's disease. In fact, one long-term study found that individuals with consistently high sugar diets had up to a 33% faster rate of cognitive decline compared to those with low sugar intake. Now imagine starting every morning with that spike. Let me tell you about Carol. She's 62, active, walks every day, always believed she was eating healthy. Every morning, she had a flavored yogurt with granola. It felt light, clean, responsible. But over time, she started noticing small things, forgetting names, misplacing keys, struggling to recall conversations from the day before. At first, she brushed it off. But when her doctor reviewed her diet, that healthy breakfast stood out immediately. The sugar load was overwhelming her brain daily. Here's what happens as you age. Your brain becomes more sensitive to glucose spikes. Your insulin response weakens, and the protective barriers that once shielded your neurons begin to thin. So what might have been harmless at 30 becomes damaging at 60. And the scary part? You don't feel it happening. It's silent, gradual, until one day it isn't. But here's the good news. You don't have to give up yogurt entirely. The fix is simple. Switch to plain, unsweetened Greek yogurt. Add your own fresh berries. Blueberries, in particular, have been shown to improve memory function by up to 25% in older adults. And if you need sweetness, a drizzle of honey is far safer than processed sugar. Here's a powerful synergy tip. Pair your yogurt with a handful of walnuts. Walnuts contain DHA, a type of omega-3 fatty acid that directly supports brain health and reduces inflammation. Together, this combination can actually protect your memory instead of harming it. Now, let's move to number 5. This one is even more dangerous because it's often recommended as part of a heart-healthy diet. Toast, but not just any toast. White bread toast. Soft, warm, comforting, and metabolically devastating. White bread is made from refined flour, which means it has been stripped of fiber, vitamins, and minerals. What you're left with is essentially pure starch. And in your body, that starch converts to sugar almost instantly. In fact, white bread has a glycemic index higher than table sugar. That means it spikes your blood glucose faster than eating sugar itself. Now think about that. You wake up, you eat toast, and within minutes, your brain is flooded with glucose. At first, you might feel a brief burst of energy, but then comes the crash. And over time, those repeated spikes and crashes begin to damage the tiny blood vessels in your brain. A A study published in Neurology found that individuals with higher average blood sugar levels, even within the normal range, had significantly smaller hippocampal volumes. The hippocampus is the part of your brain responsible for memory. Shrink that area, and you shrink your ability to remember. Let me introduce you to Ahmed. At 58, he was proud of his simple routine. 2 slices of white toast every morning with butter and tea. He felt it kept things light. But over the years, he began struggling with focus. He'd forget appointments, lose track of conversations mid-sentence. It wasn't dramatic. It was subtle, but it was progressive. When his blood work finally revealed elevated glucose levels, his doctor connected the dots. That daily toast was quietly feeding a cycle of sugar spikes that his aging brain could no longer handle. Here's the age-related risk you need to understand. As you get older, your brain's ability to regulate glucose declines. This condition is sometimes referred to as type 3 diabetes, a form of insulin resistance that specifically affects the brain. And it's one of the leading drivers of Alzheimer's disease. So what's the solution? You don't have to give up bread completely, but you must upgrade it. Switch to whole grain or sprouted grain bread, something with at least 3 to 5 grams of fiber per slice. Fiber slows down glucose absorption, preventing those dangerous spikes. Even better, replace toast with something like oats or eggs a few times a week. And here's a synergy tip that can make a massive difference. If you do eat bread, pair it with protein and healthy fat. Add avocado, add eggs, add nut butter. These slow digestion and stabilize your blood sugar, protecting your brain from those sharp highs and lows. Because at this stage of life, it's not just about what you eat. It's about how your body responds to it. And the wrong breakfast can quietly push your brain closer to decline, one morning at a time. We're just getting started. The next item is something millions of people drink, believing it boosts energy and focus. But it may be doing the exact opposite. And the damage it causes to your memory is far more severe. Stay with me. Now let's continue. Number 4. This is something many people rely on just to get through the morning. It's quick. It feels energizing. And for a few moments, it works. Sugary breakfast cereals. Bright boxes, words like whole grain, fortified, high in vitamins. But behind that marketing is something your brain simply cannot handle as you age. Many popular cereals contain anywhere from 12 to 18 grams of added sugar per serving, and most people pour far more than a single serving into their bowl. What happens next is not just a sugar spike. It's a neurological roller coaster. When you consume high glycemic foods like sugary cereal, your blood glucose rises sharply. Your body responds by releasing insulin to bring it down. But in older adults, this system is less efficient. The result? A spike, followed by a rapid drop. And that drop is where the damage begins. Your brain depends on a steady supply of glucose. When levels crash, cognitive performance drops with it. Attention weakens, memory recall slows, and mental clarity fades. A study from the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease found that diets high in refined carbohydrates were associated with an 89% increased risk of cognitive impairment in older adults. 89%. That's not a small effect. Let me tell you about Susan. She's 67, retired teacher. Sharp, organized, always on top of things. Every morning, she had a bowl of cereal, something she'd done for decades. It felt harmless, familiar, but over time, she began experiencing what she described as mental fog. She would forget why she opened her laptop, lose track of what she was reading, struggle to recall words mid-conversation. It wasn't until her daughter suggested tracking her meals that a pattern emerged. Those symptoms were worst in the late morning, just hours after her cereal breakfast. Her brain was crashing. Here's what makes this especially dangerous after 50. Your brain becomes less resilient to fluctuations. It needs stability, not spikes. Repeated glucose crashes increase oxidative stress, which damages neurons and accelerates brain aging. And again, this is happening silently, day after day. But there's a way out. Instead of sugary cereal, switch to steel-cut oats or rolled oats with no added sugar. Oats release glucose slowly, providing a steady energy supply to your brain. Add cinnamon. It has been shown to improve insulin sensitivity. And for sweetness, use fresh fruit instead of processed sugar. Now here's your synergy tip. Add a source of protein to your breakfast, like Greek yogurt or a boiled egg. Protein stabilizes blood sugar and keeps your brain fueled longer. This simple shift can transform your mornings from a cognitive crash into sustained clarity. Now, number 3. This one surprises almost everyone because it's not something you eat. It's something you drink. Fruit juice, orange juice, apple juice, even the ones labeled 100% natural. They seem healthy. After all, they come from fruit, right? But here's the truth. When fruit is turned into juice, the fiber is stripped away. And without fiber, sugar hits your bloodstream almost instantly. A single glass of orange juice can contain as much sugar as 4 to 5 oranges, but without the fiber that slows absorption. That means a rapid glucose spike, followed by the same dangerous crash. But there's more. Liquid sugar is even more harmful to the brain than solid sugar because it's absorbed faster. A large cohort study found that individuals who consumed sugary beverages daily had a 47% higher risk of developing dementia compared to those who rarely consumed them. 47%. Now imagine starting every morning with that risk. Let me tell you about Khalid. At 64, he made a conscious effort to stay healthy. He avoided soda. He exercised. And every morning, he drank a large glass of orange juice. To him, it symbolized health. But over time, he began noticing lapses, forgetting directions while driving familiar routes, struggling to remember recent conversations. When he finally consulted a specialist, his dietary habits were reviewed. That daily juice stood out immediately. It wasn't protecting his brain. It was overwhelming it. Here's the age-related factor you need to understand. As you age, your body becomes less efficient at handling rapid sugar absorption. Your pancreas works harder. Your insulin response weakens. And your brain, already vulnerable, takes the hit. Over time, this contributes to insulin resistance in the brain, a key factor in cognitive decline. Now here's what you should do instead. Eat whole fruit, an actual orange, an apple, a handful of berries. The fiber slows sugar absorption, protecting your brain from spikes. And if you love juice, dilute it heavily with water, or better yet, blend whole fruits into a smoothie so you keep the fiber intact. Here's your synergy tip. Combine fruit with a healthy fat, like a handful of almonds. This further slows glucose absorption and provides sustained energy to your brain. Now, before we go to number 2, if you've made it this far, it means you care about your memory, your independence, and your future. And that matters, because small daily habits, especially in the morning, compound over time. If this is helping you see things differently, take a moment to like this video and subscribe. Not for me, but for yourself. Because the more you understand how your brain works, the more control you have over protecting it. And I'm here to give you that clarity. Now, number 2. This one is far more serious, because it doesn't just spike your blood sugar. It actively damages your brain cells over time. Processed breakfast meats, sausages, bacon, deli meats. For many people, this is a staple breakfast, especially when paired with eggs or bread. It feels hearty, satisfying. But underneath that satisfaction is a dangerous combination of compounds that your brain struggles to handle. Processed meats are loaded with nitrates and nitrites, preservatives that have been linked to increased oxidative stress and inflammation in the brain. They also contain advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. These compounds accelerate aging at the cellular level. In the brain, they damage neurons and interfere with communication between cells. A study published in Neurology found that high consumption of processed meats was associated with a significantly increased risk of cognitive decline and reduced brain volume. But here's what makes it worse. These foods also increase inflammation throughout the body, and chronic inflammation is one of the strongest predictors of Alzheimer's disease. Let me tell you about Farouk. At 70, he loved his morning routine: eggs, sausages, and tea. It was comforting, familiar. But over time, his family noticed changes. He became forgetful, repeated stories, lost track of time. When his diet was evaluated, the high intake of processed meats stood out immediately. His brain was under constant inflammatory stress. Here's the critical point. As you age, your body becomes less capable of neutralizing these harmful compounds. What your body once tolerated now begins to accumulate damage. And that damage shows up in your memory, your focus, your ability to stay sharp. So what's the alternative? You don't have to eliminate protein, but you need to choose cleaner sources. Opt for eggs, fish, or plant-based proteins like lentils. And if you occasionally eat meat, choose unprocessed options. fresh chicken or lean cuts. Now here's your synergy tip. Pair your protein with antioxidant-rich foods, like spinach or tomatoes. These help counteract oxidative stress and protect your brain cells. Because at this stage, it's not just about avoiding harm. It's about actively defending your brain. And now, we arrive at the #1 breakfast habit. The one that neurologists are most concerned about. The one that silently accelerates memory loss faster than anything else on this list. And chances are, you've been told it's healthy your entire life. Let's uncover it. Now we come to #1. This is the one that concerns neurologists the most right now. Not because it's rare, but because it's everywhere. And because people believe, deeply, that it's good for them. Margarine and processed vegetable spreads. That smooth, easy-to-spread alternative to butter. Marketed for decades as heart-friendly, cholesterol-free, and doctor-recommended. For years, people were told to switch to it to protect their health. But what many weren't told is what it does to the brain. Most margarine and processed spreads are made with industrial seed oils that have been chemically altered through a process called hydrogenation. This creates trans fats. And trans fats are among the most destructive substances you can put into your body, especially your brain. Your brain is nearly 60% fat, but not just any fat. It relies on healthy, stable fats to maintain the integrity of its cells and to transmit signals efficiently. When you consume trans fats, they get incorporated into your brain's cell membranes. And instead of supporting communication between neurons, they disrupt it. They stiffen those membranes. They slow down signal transmission. And over time, they literally make your brain less responsive. A large-scale study published in the journal Neurology found that individuals with higher levels of trans fats in their blood had significantly worse memory performance and smaller brain volumes. In fact, participants with the highest trans fat levels performed as if their brains were up to 10 years older. 10 years. Now imagine that happening silently. Every morning. Let me tell you about Nazreen. She's 65, a grandmother. Warm, energetic, always involved with her family. For years, she made what she thought were smart choices. Whole wheat toast with margarine every morning. She avoided butter. She trusted the labels. But slowly, her family began noticing changes. She would forget birthdays she once never missed. Repeat the same questions within minutes. Lose track of conversations halfway through. At first, they thought it was just aging. But when her diet was reviewed, one thing stood out. That daily dose of trans fats. Over time, it had been quietly altering the very structure of her brain. Here's what happens as you age. Your brain becomes less capable of repairing damaged cells. It becomes more vulnerable to inflammation. And it becomes highly sensitive to the types of fats you consume. Healthy fats, like omega-3s, protect and nourish your brain. But trans fats? They accelerate degeneration. They increase the buildup of amyloid plaques, one of the hallmarks of Alzheimer's disease. They trigger inflammation that damages neurons. And they impair synaptic plasticity, the brain's ability to form and retain memories. This isn't a minor effect. It's structural damage. And the most dangerous part? It feels completely normal until it doesn't. Until names start slipping. Until conversations become harder to follow. Until independence begins to fade. But here's where the story changes. Because this is also one of the most reversible risks on this list. When you remove trans fats from your diet, your body begins to repair. Inflammation decreases. Cell membranes regain flexibility. Neural communication improves. But you have to act. Not next month. Not next year. Today. So what should you do instead? First, eliminate margarine and processed spreads completely. Read labels. If you see partially hydrogenated oils, put it back. Second, replace them with real, brain-supportive fats. Extra virgin olive oil, avocado, nuts and seeds. And yes, even moderate amounts of real butter are far less harmful than artificial spreads when used wisely. Now here's your synergy tip, the one that can truly transform your brain health. Combine healthy fats with antioxidant-rich foods. For example, whole grain toast with avocado and a side of berries. This combination reduces inflammation, stabilizes blood sugar, and provides the nutrients your brain needs to repair and thrive. Over time, these small changes compound. And instead of waking up each day feeding your brain damage, you start feeding it protection, strength, clarity. Now listen carefully, because this matters more than anything we've discussed so far. Memory loss does not happen overnight. It's built slowly, quietly, through daily habits, through repeated choices that seem small in the moment. A sugary yogurt, a glass of juice, a slice of toast with margarine. Individually, they don't feel dangerous, but together, day after day, they create a pattern your brain cannot escape. But the opposite is also true. Every better choice you make, every morning you start differently, you begin to reverse that pattern. You give your brain a chance to heal, to strengthen, to stay sharp. You are not powerless in this. Even if you're in your 60s, 70s, or beyond, your brain is still capable of change, still capable of growth, still capable of protecting your memories if you give it the right support. Imagine waking up and feeling clear, focused, present, remembering conversations without effort, recognizing names instantly, holding on to the moments that matter most. That future is not out of reach, but it depends on what you do next. So here's what I want you to do. Take a look at your breakfast tomorrow morning. Not casually, not habitually, but consciously. Ask yourself, is this feeding my brain or slowly damaging it? Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And once you change it, everything begins to change with it. If this opened your eyes, don't keep it to yourself. Share this with someone you care about, your spouse, your parents, a close friend. Because memory loss doesn't just affect individuals, it affects families. And the sooner you act, the more you can protect. Also, make sure you subscribe and stay connected, because I'll be breaking down more hidden habits that impact your brain, your body, and your longevity. You've spent your life building memories. It's time to protect them, starting tomorrow morning.